All right. Does anybody disagree that Manchester City, notwithstanding the final, are the best team in the world right now? Okay, I'll take the silence as no. Okay. So now what I'm wondering about is next summer. I want to get you, Nedum, because you're right close to it.
Yeah.
When Pep thinks about the football he wants to play,
Mm-hmm.
and given what we saw in the last 6 months, is there a center forward in there? And the reason I ask this is because they have resources. Aguero's going. And as I see it, they can either devote a lot of resources to bringing in a center forward who will share time with Gabriel Jesus or whatever, and they'll go back to playing with a central striker. Or he might just say, you know what? Let me not replace Aguero. Let me get maybe another forward, or maybe a mid-range forward, maybe a big dude or whatever who can play in certain games. But my base formation, my best 11 when I go and play most opponents is going to be this version, obviously with a 6. But is going to be the De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Foden, guys taking turns at center forward, strikerless, whatever way you want to call it. Like, do you think he's settled on that? And should he settle on that? Because that worked pretty darn well this season.
I don't think he's settled on that. I think it's a nice thing to have in your armory, but I think for City going forward, I think if maybe Aguero was fit throughout the whole season and he hit the ground running from the start, I think maybe he plays more this year. And they say they don't go to the false nine as much as maybe they did, but maybe lost confidence in him and just, the fact that he wasn't necessarily always available. But I thought in the Champions League final, again, for context, it was later on in the game. But I thought Gabriel Jesus did very well when he came on and he was playing through the middle.
So that means he's going to sign a striker then?
I think it gives them an option which can sort of do better against teams like a Chelsea, because the way they were playing with the false nines, like a false nine, like you can't really set and play and stuff like that because it almost negates like a 10. If you get a 9, then your 10s can be better. I think a KDB playing behind someone potentially is something which is quite exciting, playing off someone. And I think for Pep, that doesn't necessarily break away from the way that he wants his team to play, because whichever 9 they bring in, I'm sure they'll have incredibly high footballing IQ anyway. But to be able to have a focal point as well, I think that ultimately will be a big thing for the team.
You can go for a big 9, Mbappe, Haaland, Kane, or whatever, like a really high-end 9. Mm-hmm. Or you can go for a Gabriel Jesus standard 9, again, very good player, and work something out there, but still have as your base, or go in with the plan that, depending on the opposition, I might go with the system that we saw in the second half this year. What do you do?
If you have the money, go for the big 9. You already have Gabriel Jesus.
But, okay,
why do you want to go and recruit another Gabriel Jesus?
If you don't get the big 9, right? Because there's only, it is Mbappe, Haaland, Kane, right? There's nobody else. And they're all difficult for different reasons. If you don't get that, you would go for somebody, but you still have to bring in another body, right?
Yeah, or maybe you bring one of the youngsters like Delap, who's done really well and who can get some minutes in certain games in the Premier League.
But Delap is your new centre forward to replace Aguero.
No. That's not. But you see what I mean? You have Gabriel Jesus and you play with the false 9, or you've got Ferran Torres that has showed some good qualities in that position, and you can work with him. Yeah. Plus a young Delap, for example, or someone like that. And then
I think it's a big call to make. I think it's a big call to make. I think it'll be really interesting to see what he does. I mean, for my take, it's almost like an NBA draft, right? In some cases, you go for the best player available. So obviously, if you think you can get Mbappe,
if you have the money,
or whatever, you get it. Kane, I'm not so sure. I'm not sure about. Not because he's not good enough, just simply because of the money involved. But otherwise, I kind of think get somebody younger, or somebody who can. You have Jesus for that, an alternative to that. But maybe keep exploring what you're doing, because Foden's young, because De Bruyne is going to be motivated. Bernardo Silva's 26.
Nedum, would you sign Harry Kane?
I would sign Harry Kane, yeah. I'd go and drive down, pick him up from his house, drive him up to Manchester.
I'll do his washing. I would do his washing, walk his dog if you want anything.
Yeah, literally, what we need to make it happen. Just because the Mbappe and Haaland and stuff, I think they're exceptional players, and I think they could do very, very well in England. But it gives me more confidence to know that Kane has already done very, very well in England from the get-go. And because he's more of to be fair, not compared to, say, Haaland, but he's got a physical element as well. So in the same way for City, you used to seeing them sort of pass teams to death and moving it and so on and so forth. It's also nice to know you could throw a ball into the box. Like when Kyle Walker was throwing the long balls into the box in the last 5 minutes of the game, I'm like, well, if Stones or Diaz don't head it, what happens next? And that's just a desperation type core. With someone like Kane, you're going to get 20, 30, maybe even 40 goals if he plays for this team.
I mean, I think it's going to come down to price in that. And if they want to, as I wrote in my column on Friday, I don't think Harry Kane has zero leverage in this. And ultimately, there's a point, just in terms of cost, given Harry Kane turns 28 on July 28th, which is also my birthday, as you know. There's a point at which it just doesn't make sense for Manchester City to buy him. If you're going to be talking 120, 150 million, whatever, there is a tipping point where you still have to do your sums.
I know, but you can win the next 3 Champions League with him as well in the team. Do you see what I mean? If you think, okay, he's not going to give you 10 years, so you don't think long term. Right. But even if you should short to mid term,
you get in trouble.
I know, but there's no financial fair play this summer, so may as well go for it.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.